I developed the Iceberg model of compassionate mindful inquiry in 2019, and I wrote a book about it in 2020. And the reason I developed it was, well, it's multifaceted really, in that the current model that we were using at that time was three concentric circles with paying attention in the middle, and then the next circle was reflective dialogue, and then the next was linking, and it was only related to mindfulness. And I wanted to show the interconnection and the dynamic and the relationship between mindfulness and compassion, and also to see that this was an ongoing process and that it wasn't linear in any way. And so, yeah, I developed this model that I would like to share with you. And I'm going to take you through relatively quickly, but of course, you can read my book, Compassionate Mindful Inquiry and Therapeutic Practice, if you'd like to find out more and also look at the neuroscience. So we start here in the mindfulness area, where we start to build our capacity to pay attention. And as part of paying attention, what we're actually doing is we're building our awareness. So by paying attention, for instance, to the breath, we're building our awareness. And through that building of awareness, we're cutting by coming out of autopilot. So we're becoming aware. So instead of being unaware and just living our lives in autopilot, going from A to Z without even noticing it, we're dropping into the present moment and tuning into what's happening in the body, heart, and mind, as well as the external environment. And then we begin to notice what's happening when we pay attention. So what's happening when we pay attention to the breath? We explore beneath the superficial patterns and create new resources and promote resilience through that, being able to step back a little bit and paying attention with more awareness through knowing and noticing what it is that's happening to us in our thoughts, perhaps. Oh, when I pay attention to my breath, my thoughts go off in all sorts of different directions. That's a step back, gives us more perspective, more clarity. And then we can start to integrate that. Well, what does it feel like to notice that your thoughts are going off in different directions when you're paying attention to your breath? So we can link all of those together, but also we can link the learning from what happens to us in the microcosm of meditation practice to our everyday life. So if our thoughts are going off in different directions, do we find it difficult to concentrate? Say, even watching a film or doing a piece of work or, yeah, just something we've got to focus on for a little while. Do we get distracted? Does our mind go off in different directions? So we can start to integrate our learning and our awareness and go deeper into the choices that we have to live our lives more fully by seeing things as they really are. So seeing the reality of our situation and being able to allow and accept, well, this is where we are. This is how I'm experiencing things as they are in this moment. And this is where the previous model stopped. And there's such power in accepting and seeing and perspective taking. But sometimes we have peeled back the layers of our defense mechanisms, and seeing things as they really are can be quite a raw, a vulnerable place to be. And so this is why I brought in the concept of self-compassion. How can we warm up what we see? What can we do with that, this wise action mode, going from being to doing mode, but in a way that it's imbued with kindness. So we're linking self-compassion and self-soothing to these mindful insights and changes that we wish to bring into our lives, perhaps through the internal dialogue, self-soothing, kindly words that we can say to ourselves, and maybe something more physical by giving ourselves a stroke, hands on the heart, or offering ourselves an opportunity to take more care of ourselves in that moment. And we can change our habits and behavior over time by noticing. Again, we go into this reflective dialogue, noticing what happens when we test the water of these changing habits. So rather than just distracting ourselves when things get a little bit difficult, we lean into with kindness and compassion And over time, this can start to change our behaviors and our habits and can lead to sustainable change. So we become aware as new sustainable ways of living rise to the surface and impact on our relationships with ourselves and others. So, what sometimes is a little bit awkward and difficult at the beginning because we're creating new pathways, neurological pathways, and new habits over time through practice can lead to change where we can develop new habits which are so incredibly powerful. And we can do that in one area of our life, but then we may well wish to go on and be more mindfully aware of another pattern or something else that we do. And through our practice and deepening into our practice, deepening into our awareness, we can deepen also into self-compassion and compassion for others. And so that's what my iceberg represents, is this ongoing development and learning and a really nourishing way of being more skilled in living our lives in a way that feels more empowering and that we have more choices in our how we work with ourselves, how we relate to ourselves, and how we relate to others. So I hope that that's really been helpful for you. And yeah, thank you for listening.